Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with ChrisChamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well-rounded. What's going on around the world? If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's get started today. So Patrick Bet-David has Michael Wolff on his show, the journalist, and Michael Wolff just lies the entire time. He goes into full denial mode about Epstein working for Massad, the Israeli government. It's just total full-blown denial. And the excuse that he uses is, oh, the Israeli government would never hire Jeffrey Epstein because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Well, I find that ironic because Patrick Bet-David, he always is, a critical thinker, and he's always playing chess and not checkers and that kind of nonsense. Well, if you got hired by an agency to do a certain job, they hire all different types of people. See, the Israeli government hired Jeffrey Epstein to be a socialite. So, of course, he's going to gossip. You can't be a socialite and entrap everybody on camera and be this introvert that doesn't speak to anybody. So this whole excuse, of course, Patrick Bet-David, he just eats it up. Oh, really? He couldn't keep his mouth shut. And that's the title of the video. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't be a Massad agent because he liked to gossip and couldn't keep his mouth shut. What socialite do you know that doesn't gossip? How would Jeffrey Epstein get all these people to his house in order to get them on film for blackmail if he wasn't sociable and gossiping like a woman and playing the whole role? It's just such a lame excuse. And of course, sometimes this makes me wonder about Patrick Bet-David. Look at the title of the video. Couldn't keep his mouth shut. No way he worked for Israel. Nope. No way. No way Jeffrey Epstein could work for Israel. He was He was paid to be a socialite. Socialites talk to everybody, gossip. They're the life of the party. How do you think he got all these people to his house to get them on camera? And you really doesn't. So Michael Wolff, he might not like Jeffrey Epstein. I'll give him that. But I'm sure he likes Israel and has loyalty to Israel. Wow, it's just mind-blowing. Come on, P.B.D. I really think you could do better than this.
On the topic of, with his meeting, did you ever ask him about, because, I've sat down with his brother.
On the topic of...
I've interviewed his brother, Mark Epstein. He came to my cigar lounge about, year and a half, 2 years. I don't know the exact date, but he was with us for a couple hours. And we sat down, we had a lot of conversations. It was actually an interesting conversation. I enjoyed talking to the guy on what he had to say. You'll hear the name being dropped of Massad regularly, that he had ties back to Massad. I mean, why would Ehud Barak visit his place 36 times? Why would he, regularly have access to the White House when he would go see Clinton? Did you get a feeling from the 100 hours you guys spoke together that there was any ties to the Massad?
Sure. Let me give you precisely my feeling, because I don't know. And Epstein, I think it's...
He doesn't know as he rubs his head, turns all red, and he's starting to sweat. Yeah, sure you don't know. Oh, yeah, he looks like an honest guy. Look at that face. Yeah, it looks honest.
Very possible to say Epstein lived a very compartmentalized life. You saw what he wanted you to see. But I have been at Epstein's house many, many, many times when Ehud Barak was there. Certainly a dozen times, maybe more.
Oh, wow.
Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein were very close. I mean, I think they were certainly among each other's.
Oh, yeah, they definitely didn't discuss any American politicians, actors, or people of influence that Jeffrey Epstein might have got on video, right? No, they didn't discuss that. They just discussed tea, crimpets. No, they didn't discuss anything about the Israeli government. No.
Closer friends. I think it's been documented that Ehud Barak got money from Epstein, and they had various business dealings together. But also, they clearly enjoyed each other. I mean, I saw this again and again and again. And
Yeah, let's make the pedophile pervert. He was just so personal. They just clearly enjoyed each other's company. They never talked about underage girls. They never talked about the cameras in the house. No, none of that. It was just more like, hey, come over for some cake and tea, and let's just watch some Friends episodes.
and and obviously Ehud Barak had a very clear connection to Mossad. Although Ehud Barak, a former prime minister,
Wow.
was out of power, but very much knowledgeable about and engaged in the Israeli politics and the Israeli power structure. Having said that,
As he's turning bright red and his temperature is going through the roof, I'm lying. I would love to have a lie detector test on him right now because the thing would be buzzing off the charts.
and therefore Epstein himself was very knowledgeable about Israel, about its interests, about its politics, and to a degree about its intelligence. My view of Epstein, however, is that he possessed the information he possessed would be better characterized as gossip rather than intelligence. And Epstein was a great gossip, a great purveyor of information. And
Really? So when Bill Clinton's on Epstein Island 233 times and he mentions that to the Israeli government, hey, I had Bill over and he was over here with these 14-year-old girls. Maybe you could use that so you can get what you want out of them. I mean, after all, Bill Clinton is like the biggest. He gave Israel every single thing that they've ever wanted. I wonder why that is, but it's just gossip. It's just some nice gossip. Come on. Don't think that way. It was just a lunch date.
information in whatever form, and he was a purveyor of that information to a wide variety of people. I mean, he certainly he certainly had no one client he was passing information to. Information was part of Epstein's currency, and it was a currency that he
Did this guy graduate school with Kamala Harris like this big word salad? Right. Okay.
used for, I think, financial gain, but also for social climbing. So one of the reasons people would come to Epstein's house and sit around his table is that you would hear things that the New York Times didn't know. But this was not carefully shared.
Epstein's whole job as intelligence, all it was to get people on camera of influence and power in America so they could use those tapes to get what they wanted. That was his whole job. That's it. Didn't matter what he said or didn't say. He just had to be friendly enough, the party guy, the guy with all the girls, get everybody over and get them on video. But hey, he looks like an honest guy.
This was, as I say, a gossip's currency.
I mean, some would say gossip and intel are cousins. They're somewhat related.
Exactly.
I can still
Exactly.
gossip and give you
I'm sure.
Yeah, wait. Epstein had all these politicians over on Epstein Island, and he never mentioned this to the Israeli government, Massad. Nobody on that side. He never mentioned it. No, it was just a big secret. Oh, you know what? I'm a big gossiper, but I'm going to keep that information to myself about American presidents on my island with underage girls. Right.
That they are related. They're just not the same thing, and I'm not sure that
word salad.
that you would necessarily want your intelligence agent to be one of the world's biggest gossips, because he couldn't contain himself. He would tell anyone anything.
He couldn't contain himself. Epstein couldn't contain himself.
Look at Patrick.
So he was always talking.
I always.
So then that's
constantly,
actually that makes for a terrible Massad. It's terrible.
Yes,
CIA
I would
Mossad.
say,
because
yes.
and a part.
No, it doesn't. Because that wasn't his job title. Like Patrick Bet-David's eyes like lighting up, like, oh, the light bulb just went off. Oh, that would make him a terrible Mossad agent. There's no way he could have worked for the Israeli government now because he talked too much. his job for the Israeli government was to be a socialite, to and have these parties, have people over, and he's the guy with the girls, and let's have a drink and this and that, to get them in compromising positions on video. Wow, it's just, you just had a moment of enlightenment, P.B.D. Wow.
Part of it, which is kind of weird, when he said they had at one point, Ehud Barak, they had a scheduled monthly meeting, I think 15 consecutive months, and one time and these happened like at 2015, 2017, 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can search this and verify it. And even at one point, Ehud Barak said, I actually didn't know about his dealings in the past. I didn't know that he had these things that were said, which is kind of naive to say that, being the prime minister of Israel.
Ehud is full of shit. Ehud.
Yeah, just like you.
Knew Jeffrey. I mean, did Ehud know that that Jeffrey Epstein had clearly had a fetish for young girls? I don't know.
Wait, he didn't know that. He didn't know that. Right. He didn't know that Jeffrey Epstein liked underage girls. Right. The only person that's full of shit right now is you.
What extent Ehud knew that, but Ehud certainly did not know, as he now represents, Jeffrey Epstein on a casual basis. They were close friends.
What was your feeling about Ehud when you were around him? Was it just like it was nonchalant? They were just hanging out because the investment Epstein had made, I think, in Carbine 9/11, right. Or what feeling did you get from him?
Yeah,
good, bad, indifferent.
Completely. Ehud was there, came to Jeffrey Epstein's because he enjoyed it. Okay. He enjoyed meeting other people. Ehud.
Well, most of the people that hung out with Epstein enjoyed underage girls, but how come you don't give him that title?
Who, as I say, I have spent a lot of time with now. Ehud is an incredible gas bag. I think that he will go. Oh my God! Well, he would go anywhere. He would be anywhere in any situation in which people were. He had a captive audience to listen to him go on and on and on and on. And Jeffrey Epstein listened to him. He indulged him for Ehud gave I would say in any hour block of conversation, Ehud might supply 5 minutes of interesting information.
When you were around Epstein,
55 minutes. That others you would have to.
I haven't heard.
More like he probably passed them some videos and tapes from the parties that he had when he had Bill Clinton and all these politicians over on Epstein Island.
I wore in a long time. Did you see, when you were there on your visits, did you see young girls? Did you see a lot of pretty girls? Did you see models there? Was that something that was part of the energy of being in this place, or not at all?
Yes, there were always a set of young women, and I mean young women. They would clearly have been in their 20s.
Okay.
Possibly even late 20s.
That's old for him, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he.
Yes, yeah, no, who were there as assistants and basically assistants.
Define assistants, because there's a lot of ways to assist men.
Well, no, they did. They made his appointments, and they.
Assistants, like assistants, or do you think they were assisting? Like,
no, they were assistants. Like they were the receptionists. They were the this. They would come in. They would bring him.
Forgive me. I thought you meant something else. So you're saying they were his personal assistants that were there, and are they bringing you tea, coffee? Hey, would you like something?
Yes,
okay,
they did. They did all of that. I mean.
Oh wait. Jeffrey Epstein was a pervert 24 hours a day, but with his assistants, he put all his perversity aside, right? It was just cute and innocent.
I always equated them, if you live in New York, where I've lived for a long time, there are high-end art galleries in which there are always clearly young women who are the receptionists and who are there to kind of guide you, give you information, and they all are clearly chosen because of their poise and.
Oh wait, they're chosen for their poise, really? Like, what a putz! believe anything that this putz coming out of his mouth. Oh yeah, they're chosen for their poise. No, they're chosen because how young they are and how far they're willing to go.
The way they present,
Right.
and that's what these women in Epstein's house, and I think they were different from the women, the massage women in Palm Beach, and then the set of Eastern European models.
Oh yeah, wait. The women in the house, they weren't pressured into having sex with Jeffrey Epstein. Or in the art galleries. No, Jeffrey Epstein put all his perversity again to the side and only saved that for Eastern European women. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Models that that you would occasionally see.
Keep going. Keep going. Come
I
on.
think that this was so.
Him and Adam Sosnick graduated from the same school.
This was part of this carefully orchestrated ecosystem of women around Jeffrey Epstein.
When you were at his place, did Bill Gates or Barack Obama ever come by, or no? You did not see them there.
No, I don't think Barack Obama knows Epstein. Bill Gates, yes.
So Bill, you
Why would Barak be there? He likes young men.
did see Bill Gates visit, so he was
Yes.
around. Oh, okay, got it. Because I think his wife at the end, when she said something in one of the interviews where she's like, I was not comfortable how close he was getting to Epstein. And even Bill Gates in another interview later on said, yes, I probably shouldn't have gotten close to him, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen this interview. You've definitely have seen it as well.
No,
So-
and I think I think Gates and Epstein were actually quite close, and certainly as long ago as 2014, Epstein related conversations to me about Gates complaining to Epstein about his marriage and his wife. So I
Oh,
think
wow.
that it was and I mean, one of the things that Epstein did, and one of the things that he was involved in when he was involved with these very, very wealthy men, he got involved in family matters that impacted on the fortunes, on these various fortunes. And obviously,
Interesting.
divorce impacts on a great fortune.
Got it. So this is the whole idea about, hey, let's
What a word salad, huh?
take this money and put it elsewhere pre-getting married and pay a consulting fee to prevent from having to pay half of it. Creative ways of not paying as much to your spouse if you go through a divorce.
Yes.
Okay, got it. In regards to the business model, did you guys talk about how he makes money? I mean, how he originally made his money? Because
we did, and that's always I think that that's one of those aspects of his life that was very compartmentalized. I mean, I've had this discussion with him, but do not feel that I certainly didn't feel that I was getting the whole story. Quite the opposite. It was rather he kind of teased you with the story. He told me once, he said, when I pressed.
Anybody that has this much money given to him, like 500 million, it's not that it was, I guess in essence, it was given to him and all these mystery things. You know why it has to be a mystery? Because they work for the government. That's why. And the whole thing is just like, it's real, but at the same time, it's make believe. So they have to turn Jeffrey Epstein into this big socialite in this $500 million mansion. And he's the guy that has the parties and the girls and the liquor and the wine. Who do you know that gets in Florida, of all places, who gets a conviction for sex trafficking minors and all the other stuff and only gets like 2 years or less in prison? Anybody else would have got 25 years. And he didn't even spend the whole time in the prison. They left the cell door open for him. Why is that? You know why? Because Jeffrey Epstein worked for the Israeli government. That's why.
Him, and I said, okay, tell me, come on, where does the dough come from? I mean, I've seen him, in many instances. I never saw him, however, do a lick of work. So what was going on? Where did this come from? And he said, and I remember he said, in a very in a very teasy kind of way. He said,
He didn't do it. Jeffrey Epstein didn't do a lick of work. No, he did his job perfectly. His job was to bring underage girls to politicians and people of influence in America that put them in a bad position, get them on tape. The Israeli government has the tape. They can flex on people and tell people, hey, you better do what I say, or guess what? We're going to release this tape. He did his job. He was working all the time. What are you talking about?
well, I run something like a reverse Ponzi scheme.
Right.
In a real Ponzi scheme, you make money that does not exist appear to exist.
Mm-hmm.
In my Ponzi scheme, I make money that exists appear not to exist. And the example was, if you're a very wealthy person and getting a divorce, and if you hide $100 million, or at least make $100 million of your wealth disappear, you've just saved $50 million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a guy that Mark Epstein told me that was Epstein's mentor. I don't remember the gentleman's name. He went away, and he was in the Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Hoffberg. He's Stephen
Yes,
Hoffenberg. I don't know
right.
if you know about. Okay, yeah. So
I do.
did that
do,
name ever
yes.
come up or no between the two of you?
You know, it came up in the Hoffenberg, who Epstein had been involved with, and Hoffenberg.
When somebody asks you a question and they're lying, they'll repeat the name that was just asked because they're trying to buy time to create a lie.
Had an insurance company that collapsed, and Hoffenberg went to jail for a long time, like I don't like 15 years. And then he got out of jail and he started to press Epstein for what I don't exactly know, but that was something I was aware of going on in the background. Now, Mark Epstein, just by the way, had also not been really, his relationship with his brother was at best strained for quite a number of years.
He said that as well. He said that as well,
yeah.
that they were not as close. I said, you guys live a few minutes with each other. How often you guys have dinner or lunch together? Not that often, maybe once every couple. I'm like, you're a few minutes away. So that was a very interesting dynamic as well, the relationship between the two.
In my understanding of that, and I don't have a complete understanding because, I mean, that was not something that Epstein seemed to want to talk about, was that his brother distanced after Epstein's legal difficulties beginning in 2004. His brother, like Ghislaine, distanced himself from Jeffrey Epstein.
So two people who he contacted last before he passed away. One of them was his German girlfriend, who was Karina.
She was not German. She was from, as I understand, and I mean, I had met her a few times, from Belarus.
She was from Belarus. We got to get this right because, the guy's, her name is Karina Shuliak. Karina Shuliak. Belarus. Okay, so from Belarus. And I said German. Forgive me to all the people from Belarus. I didn't want to offend you. So he calls her last one, but he texts you last. What were the last text exchanges with him, and exactly how much longer after his last text to you did he die?
Yeah, I think that it was not a text really. It came through his lawyers, so he couldn't text. He was given. They had gotten him the clearance to call the girlfriend, but the message to me had come through one of the lawyers. I mean, I knew the lawyers, and I passed them a message. I said, and the message that I sent to him was, how are you doing, or just that kind of thing. And his response to that message was, the context of this is that's about a week before he had apparently tried to hang himself, or that's what people said, or again, a confusing situation. But his response to me was, quote, still hanging around. How are you? still hanging around. And then X number of hours later, I mean, this was on Friday, early on Saturday morning, he was found, with a bed sheet around his neck in his
Well, that's a
cell.
weird text. So the lawyer sends you a text of his last message saying still hanging around. Maybe he was hanging around, meaning the lawyer saying he's dying. So the lawyer told you still hanging around? That could be a cryptic message.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is a cryptic
Holy
message,
shit.
but it is. I mean, in my understanding of Epstein and how
That's a cryptic message, but an Israeli government official at Epstein's apartment 10 million times is just not, it's somehow that's not cryptic. No, Epstein doesn't work for them. No, they're not sharing any secret information or tapes, Bill Clinton or politicians. No, it's just your imagination.
he responded to things, he was responding to that the news coverage of that he had apparently tried to hang himself, but then they actually said he hadn't tried. There was a dispute about that, and that was his reference to make a joke out of that, which would have been very Jeffrey Epstein-like.
Ish. Did Nicholas
Everything's a joke to Jeffrey Epstein because he knows he could do whatever he wants because he's not going to get in trouble. He can have sex with 13-year-old girls. He could have all these parties for 30, 40 years. Even when he gets caught, he doesn't do the jail. So everything's a joke to him, of course.
Tortagliano
And we're all a joke for believing that he actually didn't work for Massad. So
ever come up? His cellmate, the guy that, multiple times beat up the same person on 4 different
No,
occasions?
it did not come up with me. I mean, those are that's the only communication I would have had with or direct communication.
With the last few minutes we have together here, Michael. So this is why I wish this was face to face. We could go 4 hours, but last conversation
4 hours of what? Of lies?
about Trump. So you're not a fan of Trump. Some would even say, you have animosity towards him, maybe even hate towards him. It's felt that way if I watch you in the interviews. Where does your feeling towards Trump come
I
from?
don't. I mean, I feel that.
You know why he's mad? Because President Trump was the one that reported Epstein in the first place for sleeping with underage girls. And he really likes Epstein, and he's really doing what he can to protect Israel. So that's why he doesn't like President Trump.
That Donald Trump should not be the president of the United States, is not the kind of person I would.
Oh, but Kamala Harris should and Joe Biden should, right? President Trump shouldn't be president of the United States, but Kamala Harris and Joe Biden should. Interesting thought.
Certainly elect as the president of the United States is not the kind of person who can carry out what I know to be the demands of being the president of the United States.
Well, that's funny because President Trump is orchestrating world peace, the economy, the border secure, everything's getting better. But according to this lying piece of garbage, Michael Wolff, he can't do the job. It's your imagination. Just like Jeffrey Epstein didn't work for Massad. That's your imagination too, right?
I mean, Donald Trump, I don't hate Donald Trump. I have no personal animosity toward Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, when we're together, we get along just fine. And I've known Donald Trump for
You know why? Because you're a coward weasel and you won't tell him what you really think of him face to face because you're a worm. That's why.
quite a long time back in New York days. I just feel that all of his impulses as the president of the United States are ultimately damaging and
Oh, let me guess. Zohran Mamdani should be president, right? That's who you'd vote for.
counterproductive.
You think some of these stories of, Melania, how he met her and Epstein ties, do you think some of these could be coming from a place? Because everybody tried to get him on Russia. That came back. That wasn't good. Everybody tried to get him on all this stuff with 2024. Hey, here's his mugshot. And every single time, it seems like it's become the next hoax and the next hoax. So maybe people right now are saying, you really think there's any ties with Epstein and Trump?
Well,
people need to know about?
There are clearly ties with Epstein and Trump. I mean, the
But
idea
anything
that
nefarious.
Nefarious. Well, it's how you define. I don't know. This is what I know. I won't even try.
This is my favorite part. Nefarious would be President Trump sleeping with underage girls, which he never did. See, the big thing that P.B.D. is missing here is this man, Michael Wolff, has been to Jeffrey Epstein's house 1,000 times. Obviously, they're friends. So he can lie and say he doesn't like it. Of course he did. Why would he be at the man's house? He knows exactly what he's into. You know he has allegiance to Israel. So, of course, now he's mad that President Trump is the one that outed Jeffrey Epstein. So why do you think he's saying all this? It gives him all the ammunition to lie like he's doing now.
To define that they were friends for well more than a decade, almost 15 years. They were interested, both of them were interested primarily in the two things they were interested in were women, girls, and money, get rich quick money stuff. And the girls, women, girls, they were interested in, obsessively so, fetishistically in a way, were models. And remember, this was the age of the model. Supermodels, runway models, catalog models, Eastern European models, and a wide population of girls who just dreamed of being models. That's what they saw as status. That was the thing that turned them on, I suppose. Trump's interest in beauty pageants, Epstein with Victoria's Secret girls. That's what they were in constant pursuit of. And then people say to me, but you don't mean to say that Donald Trump was interested in little girls. And I say, listen, what I know is they were interested in models.
Wait, he can't figure out that President Trump is not into underage girls. Joe Biden was president, had the DOJ, the FBI, all the tapes, all the files, and it's proven that President Trump isn't into 14-year-old girls. But he can't give you a definitive answer about that. Just like he can't tell you that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Massad, right? But he can figure out what President Trump was into, but he can't figure out Jeffrey Epstein and what he was really up to. Right. Okay. Keep going with the lie.
Old are models. Models in certainly at that point in time were anywhere from, I don't know, 14 to 20, basically.
Right.
When I hear models, I don't think 14 to 20. I think,
Me neither, because he's full of shit, and he's full of shit, P.B.D.
Well, then you would be incorrect in that, because that's what they were.
Yeah, no,
Ooh, you got real ballsy there, big tough guy. It's so funny he could figure out President Trump in 2 seconds, but he can't figure out Jeffrey Epstein. I wonder why.
I'm sure there's young models there. I'm sure there's, and that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, it's easy the gossip intel when they flirt with each other, right? So that leads to accusations, and then everyone's writing about it. And the next thing like the story, the story I read about Princess Diana, the competition between the two. Did you share that story, or was that story shared by somebody?
I did.
Would you mind sharing that story?
Well, that was just a kind of, they were deeply interested in the royal family, both of them. And why were they interested in the royal family? Because the royal family was a great social climbing vector. You remember, both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein are always trying to raise money. Where do we get money from? And, Donald Trump by that point had gone through several bankruptcies. I mean, nobody at this point is blue chip. So how do you raise money? Fairly large sums of money. Well, you raise money by knowing people who can give you access to money. How do you know those people? Well, there are lots of ways, lots of social climbing ways, but one of them, the best ways, is to know someone in the royal family. So it was both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein became in hot pursuit of access to the royal family, most successfully with Prince Andrew. But at one point, then they had this competition, and it was, this, I don't know how serious this was or how it was just to amuse them about who would be the first one to sleep with Diana. This was after the marriage to Charles had basically broken up.
Did anybody win?
That I don't know.
I don't know if Jeffrey told you this, but Michael, we're at the time of 1 hour. I want to respect your time and the calendar and schedule you gave me. I appreciate the time. I know it's not often you get on podcasts that are maybe not.
All right. Michael Wolff is a liar, and it's obviously that he's lying for Jeffrey Epstein and for Israel. Anybody that doesn't believe that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Israel is a complete, total moron. A $500 million mansion given to him in Manhattan, the shady, weird things going on where he always seemed to slip out of trouble. And then when things got bad and all these names might come out, Bill Clinton, this one, that one on Epstein Island, oh, guess what? He choked himself in his cell, the most secure place in America, MDC in Brooklyn, or, the prison that he was in. But somehow he was able to off himself. Right. Patrick Bet-David, you need to do a lot better than this. And this whole thing, like, you're part of this lie now, Patrick Bet-David, because you're really eating it up that, Jeffrey Epstein couldn't work for Massad or the Israeli government because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. And I'll say it again. They hired him as a socialite to get politicians and famous people and people of influence in bad compromising positions with underage kids and everybody else. They got the tapes on him. Jeffrey Epstein did his job. And he worked for the Israeli government. It's really a simple. So when you say, he couldn't have worked for the Israeli government, he had a big mouth. His job was not to be an introvert. His job was to be a socialite, P.B.D. And for a guy that's so smart and is playing chess all the time, for you just to go along with this narrative and even the way that you titled this video, couldn't keep his mouth shut. You're part of the lie now because it's a lie and you know it's a lie. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.